Good morning, happy preppers. Perrin Lovett here for another exciting edition of the Prepper Post News, courtesy of Freedom Prepper. And we are on Friday, March 19th, 2021. So I suppose when next we meet, it will be officially spring. It's been spring. Spring has sprung down here, wherever here is, for several weeks. I know some of you, Bill, may still be experiencing winter weather for a little while. That's what you get for living so far north. As always, this show is brought to you today by the delightful Freedom Roasters coffee, which of course is available in the ground. You can also get the whole bean, and don't you ever forget that. Not like I don't have enough props in here. And by the way, it's not a green screen. We're going to be talking about that. This is real. All this stuff it's real. The K-Pods are real too, and they're really good. Don't forget to order some of those. FreedomRoastersCoffee.com. And hello to everybody at FreedomPrepper.com, the Prepper community, YouTube, and our delightful audience on the podcast, which is very real, unlike some of the things I'm about to talk about now, because fakery is just everywhere. And in fact, it almost seems like if you watch TV or read a newspaper, everything is fake. There's good reason for that. For months now, we have been told that the Orange Man, bad Orange Man, was trying to pressure Georgia officials into finding fraud. It was suggested by the Washington Post, no less, that he told a Georgia official that she would be the hero of the nation if she would find the fraud. And of course, I've got a link here, all stories at freedomprepper.com. that was quietly retracted, although the once the narrative starts, it gets spun in with the rest of the cyclone, and it never stops. That WAPO correction was placed at the top of the original article in their conversation. It clearly states that the president never asked the official to find the fraud or suggested she'd be a national hero if she did. They lie about everything, absolutely everything else. All right, I'm getting emails now about the green screens with our current president, Joe Biden. Um, you know, it would not. In fact, I know that for some of these presentations, quick news conferences, they do use green screens. I mean, if the president is not at the White House, but they want it to look like he is, they'll put a photograph behind him. I've seen a couple that to me, if the contrast in the studio is off, or somebody is filming LED monitor, you can get strange feedback. I don't think it's a lot of green screens. I think he's real. He's really there. I've got a link to a video from a Twitter video of him walking through the White House. I think it's the real him. There's speculation that it's an AI, whatever. It's not. It's really Joe Biden. His handler, masked Kamala, like a bandit, is walking along behind him. And he is, Frankenstein, stiffly looking straight ahead, emotionless. Gets to the doorway and kind of, where do I go? It's him, and he is really the victim of elder abuse. They've got him drugged. God knows what they do to him. This is real, and it's really horrible. And I say it's time to free Joe Biden and stop this insanity. I've got more insanity involving poor old Joe. I really feel sorry for the poor man. And I just hate the people who would do this to him. Russia. Almost 5 years ago, Hillary Clinton started this Russia nonsense, and like the fake call to Georgia, it just grew into the narrative. And we're going to talk about how the narrative grows with our feature story, which is about the massage parlor shootings. They're still pushing Russia. Blue Anon with their crazy tinfoil hat conspiracies. This insane group of leftist politicians, media personalities who think that right-wing people are monsters who hate pedophiles. We are, but we're not monsters. They simply won't give it up. They're again pushing this nonsense. CNBC is that Russia interfered not in the 2016 election, but in the 2020 election. Remember a few months ago, we were sternly told on this show, very sternly, that there was no impropriety, no fraud of any kind in the 2020 election. And then they admitted that there was in the Time magazine story. Now they're saying, oh, of course, Russia was behind it, Putin. RT reports that the handlers, these sadistic, evil pieces of low-life crap that are abusing poor Joe, are pushing him towards pushing for war with Russia, which is, it's like the neocon communist wet dream. It's what it is to have a war with Russia because they hate Russia. Why? Because Leon Trotsky, their man, was too extreme for the other communists and got kicked out. They landed here and have destroyed our nation. They've got poor Joe with this Russia collusion, meddling nonsense, calling Putin the killer. Now, in this story, he admits that, well, if this turns out to be true, but I'm going to go ahead and call him a killer anyway, because that's what they're telling me to when they beat me and drug me. That's dangerous because poor Joe doesn't know any better, but Vladimir is not corn pop or popcorn or whatever his name was. If that went the distance, that would be very bad, as is most of the stuff that they want to push on us, because they want total control of everything. I found a Market Watch story about Americans and their lack of savings, and there is a law with all the others drifting through the swamp of Congress that would mandate that employees contribute to their company-sponsored, bank-operated 401k plans, because people just aren't saving enough money, and this is responsible for, they will force you to be responsible for your future. This is robbery. Is all it is. All they're doing is they're gonna, if this passes, and it might, they're gonna force the working poor to turn over just a little bit more of that wealth that they're losing at free fall speed, and give it to the criminal banksters, where it will magically, Bernie Madoff away, and then when you go to retire, they'll just tell you to either keep working or get in the grave. It's theft. It's 401k reasons not to trust the politicians or their central planning friends. They also want to poison you. They literally want to poison the wells, and I mean they want to put poison in your water. From Ann Barnhart, I found and they're not secret. This is not rank speculation. This is an academic paper published and available. I got the link. You can download the whole thing and read it. The compulsory moral bioenhancement should be covert. And there's this bioethicist, that's a misnomer, PhD jackass, that they have this plan going around that in addition to fluoride and all this other stuff they put in the water supply, they want to start adding SSRIs or something to make everybody docile so that nobody ever objects to any of this other nonsense. They want to make you like Joe Biden, Frankensteining around your house, doing whatever they say. And this guy says, well, hey, if we're going to do that, we might as well do it on the on the sly so that nobody catches on. It's for everybody's good. He talks about this would promote values such as liberty, utility, equality, and autonomy. I mean, what better promotes liberty than forcing people without their knowledge to take a dangerous drug that will render them zombie-like if they survive all the other drugs? Giving people drugs, ask the party guys at spring break, slipping the roofie in the drink, that's a felony. And doing this to a large group of people is a war crime, another war crime, and they're open and honest about it. And that's why Fox and CNN have been all over this. You can always trust the mainstream media. Okay. Here, Andrew, I found a story about, I'll call it the Great North Korea Mining Disaster. I don't know if this is the right one. I couldn't find anything with any of the miners talking. I understand that old Kim is using slave labor, prison labor to mine coal and export it for profit. So I guess the punchline is that while Texas and the rest of the West is shivering and, dying under the blades of wind turbines that freeze up and solar panels that don't work, the communists are getting rich off of old King coal. I hope that's the right one. I looked hard for that. I've even got a story from the Guardian. I'm against it, the whole thing. Although, I'll say something positive about North Korea that nobody ever talks about. The siblings, the dictator and the not so unattractive woman waiting in the wings to take over, sister, they went to a boarding school in Switzerland, I think. So they have a taste for the West, especially beer. And the first thing, when the old boy got back, he started opening all these beer gardens all over the urban areas, Pyongyang and so forth. And the workers, when they get out of the mines, they give them like 2 coupons a day for it. Apparently, it's really good craft beer, and you would think you were up in the Alps drinking it. All right, let's move on to something really happy before I start babbling about beer and communism and attractive dictatoresses. This is the headline story. You've heard all about this. I was suspicious the second I heard about it. I call this the unhappy ending in Atlanta. The Georgia massage parlor shootings. Terrible. I mean, we have eight people dead. Senseless homicide. I've got a list of some of the better links to some of these stories from the Daily Mail, NBC, the AJC, and the U.S. version of The Sun. I was skeptical about this whole story immediately, mainly because of the way that it was reported, and it just fell right into the script, and they literally ran their pre-existing talking points like they were waiting on this. Not to say that they had a hand in making this happen, although I don't put that past them. They were certainly ready. Something changed, and they very soon they started backtracking on it. I think as soon as early as Wednesday, the story started changing. It didn't quite fit. But the story is this 21-year-old hillbilly nut from Woodstock, Georgia, where I used to live. Bought a gun and went to local massage parlors, shot some Asian women. Then he went down to Atlanta, repeated the same thing, and then fled south, and the State Patrol cornered him on I-75 south of Atlanta. And the way it was presented was, the quote was that this guy was into guns and God. He's a religious gun nut. He's just like the people that stormed the Capitol on 1/6, a day that will live in infamy. He's the new face of white supremacist terror. Can't find any black or brown people to terrorize, so he's going after the Asians. Why? Well, because Orange Man bad with Russia. Because of Russia, Orange Man said that this was the Chinese flu. He put all the blame on Russia. Now all these irrational rednecks are attacking Asian people. Therefore, we need to ban guns. You can see where this is going. And I taught a month ago about Margie Green and how to spot their lies. One thing is that every one of these news sources, and I looked at a dozen others, they all reported the exact same thing. They had a script. The script came from somewhere, and it was ready immediately. Even before the guy was apprehended, they had it ready, and they were rolling with it. And it neatly fit into their other agenda items. And then they've had to change that. But also the authoritative statements were immediately available, and they knew everything about this guy before he was even caught. That's a red flag. They had the police chief, the sheriff, or the sheriff's representative in Cherokee County, the mayor of Atlanta, the governor, Governor Kemp, Joe Biden made a statement, and then they had a statement from the South Korean foreign office. Immediately had a statement about 4 of these women. They knew who they were, and they didn't know if this was terrorism against it. Well, wait a minute. Immediately, how was that all set up and ready? It doesn't make sense unless it was just ready to go. And this is a giant, and we've talked about this before, it's paid journalism. There's a machine at work. They have this stuff literally pending and ready to go in a computer, and they can put it out with just changing the names and facts. Here's what I thought immediately. Okay, this guy, the actual quote was he was into pizza, guns, drums, family, and God. He's a, you know, Gen Z, guy from the suburbs. That's about. And his father was is a preacher, so he's the preacher's son. He looks average, ordinary. Georgia good old boy. You would expect him to be a hunter, to like pizza, play the drums, and hang out with his family. Their attempt to spin this fell apart for whatever reason. I suspect that the reason was he did not buy one of those scary AR-47 military automatic assault cannons. He, probably just bought a, 38 special or a pump shotgun or something. We haven't seen pictures of the gun, and it's just mentioned as the gun, not the scary assault weapon. Here's my theory. So you have this good guy, and they had all, immediately they had all, everybody from high school, everybody that knew him had a quote. I mean, like it was pre-planned and scripted and ready to go. They all said he was, normal, kind of nerdy, quiet guy, tried to be good. Father was a preacher. He probably had a few hang-ups and, was conflicted, as most people are in this utterly inverted, insane age where right is wrong and wrong is right. So he's up there in Woodstock, and yeah, over on the interstate, you find these massage parlors, and most of them are staffed by young Asian women, and they do. Some of them provide legitimate massages, some provide other things. So he goes there, and he knows that the police have been known to keep an eye on these places, so he spreads out his business to a couple of the local ones, and then even drifts down to Atlanta. Something happened. The latest backtracking in the Sun says that he wanted revenge on these women for their terrible lifestyles, and he wanted to attack the entire porn industry, which would not be a bad idea. What's his name? Aaron Jones, I think. My theory is, all of these he didn't know this, but all of these women in this relatively tight knit industry, they communicate. We have Freedom Prepper community. They have something similar, and they talk to each other. Something probably happened with him, and I bet they made fun of him. They made him uncomfortable. That triggered his inner gamma that was already conflicted about everything in general, and he went off. And he's already confessed to that. He confessed, I think it was Wednesday, shortly after they caught him. He had already confessed, even though in Cherokee County, I know for a fact they are, say what you want to about the police, they are extraordinarily professional, and they would it's the kind of place where they would almost insist that you not talk to them until you've consulted with an attorney. And the attorneys in and around northern Atlanta, Cobb and Cherokee County, are excellent when it comes to criminal defense. So very unusual. And we'll know, you may know now, over the weekend, next week, if the story disappears, it'll be like Nashville. The FBI is investigating. So maybe they're going to come in and say, 3 months from now, they'll issue their report like Nashville. No, there was no truck bomb here. Nothing happened. He didn't shoot anybody. We can't use this one. It's like the LA shooting. It's like 9/11. It's overdone. Forget about it. Move on. We'll find another false flag to hang our hat on. It's a terrible, terrible world where real things happen and you just can't trust the reporting. So always, my tip is always look at everything coming out of these official sources with a very skeptical eye. Look at multiple sources, local, national, and international if you can, and you'll plainly see the consistency in the narrative. It's just there. You learn to read it. I don't even have to read these stories. I can just spot words that jump out at me. So anyway, now, will anything be done about the underlying social issues? No. Because what the blue and non people are hiding is that, a lot of these elite freaks in the news and the government, the alphabet agencies, they are deviants and they like this kind of stuff. And Georgia is a major, as is Florida, is a major hub for illicit activity of this kind, and much worse, much. If it was just this, the libertarians would say, "Wow, leave it alone." It's not. It involves children, international trafficking, slavery, and many cases rape and murder, or I guess all cases rape, many cases murder, and we've got 8 more deaths here. It'll be interesting to see what they come up with about him. They've got their story, like the Washington Post did with this Trump call, and Trump immediately had parts of the transcript that nothing lines up, but nothing has to line up. Their lies are transparent. Anyway, that's what I got. Tell me what you think about that. I forgot I was supposed to come begging. This video, like it, thumbs up, leave a comment in YouTube, as long as we have a YouTube channel. And for God's sake, promote everything Freedom Prepper to your friends and family, people that you trust who might be interested, and join the Freedom Prepper community. That's where a lot of the really good comments come in. Folks at the podcast, keep listening, bookmark it. We've got like 8 available services. I assume some of those you can subscribe to. Do that and join freedompreppercommunity.com, where we, in addition to just talking, we have forums where various kinds of in-depth information gets posted about all kinds of things, including the never-ending psyop of the mass media. So come on over and check it out. Spring is literally upon us. So Monday, I'll be here with colorful, flowery spring stuff. And maybe we'll do us an outdoor episode one of these days. Have a great weekend, kids. And I'll see you back in the spring of 21.